Hi, this is Talk K Dramas with Bruce and Dallas.
Hey.
Extracurricular episodes 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have your sentences ready?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to warn everyone right now for these next two episodes, a lot of compound sentences. Okay. So sentence one, after meeting with the police officer, Minhee is dismissed by Jisoo and Ri. Sentence number two, after Minhee and Ri protect Jisoon from the bully, Minhee enlists Jisoon to try and get her job back. And then three, gangster dude finds out that his girlfriend has used Jisoon's compensated dating services and creates a bloody mess.
So they're using the word compensated dating.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a translation thing, but
yeah, you know what? It could be a translation thing. That's just the words they used. What would we use?
Escort services.
Oh, there you go. We would say like an escort service.
Yes.
Okay. And then
and everyone, yeah, and that's, well, I don't want to throw everyone under the bus that may be an escort at the same time. It seems that that's what is being said. Yes.
Oh, okay. That kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm like, compensate. It sounds so like formal or.
And it is. It's business.
I guess so. Okay. So in the intro in episode 6, we see the detective.
Yes.
And the woman detective, and she is counseling, I guess, Minhee.
Right.
And this is when Ri and Sue walk in and see that.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, like Ri is just how do you talk to an official like that? Well, Ri's just like, excuse me, you need to leave. We have a school project. This is our club room.
Yeah.
That's just how they do it. It's so hard sometimes because you watch, we're watching a show and it's not real. So they can, real. I know, but it's hard sometimes because you're like, oh, is that what the South Koreans do?
Of course not.
And you have to remind yourself, like, wait a minute, you can't just take for granted what you see on the show because it is entertainment. And so they may not be representing their culture or everything.
Well, yeah, I think they're representing the story very well in regards to that she's being a bit, or I mean, she's trying to protect and trying to protect their business interests in the best way that she sees. And
yeah, that's how they have to, I guess, portray her so that we can get the sense of.
Yeah, clearly she's a different like these two are different types of people because they're running an illegal business, right? And so it's kind of like, to me, this was like a demonstration of like, okay, what kind of person in South Korea would be doing something like this?
Yeah.
And so it didn't seem too far off for me. Or it didn't catch me unexpected. Yeah.
So you see the detective make a phone call, and then the next thing you see is they get kicked out.
Yes.
It's just funny. So what's happening is that the detective is on to something. She knows she has some intuition that something's going.
Well, it's bigger than intuition. She had a video.
Oh, you're right. But well, she has
closed in on the face, and you could pretty easily see that it was Minhee in a way.
Yeah, she knows it's Minhee, but what is she? She's not just there with a boyfriend or something. Like there's something bigger.
Oh, for sure.
Happening here. So she's questioning her on what happened on March 28th, and who was she at the hotel with, and Sue and Ri are eavesdropping on the other side. So they definitely know what they're questioning her about.
Absolutely.
Obviously, right? Because that's what he says too. He's like, that was the day that we were at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
The day of the questions we were, whatever, homework we were doing. And so.
And where the episode happened between Minhee and that psycho. Yeah.
Yes, because Ri doesn't really know what happened, right? She was just left. She was just left at the coffee shop. But this is a big deal for Sue because He knows exactly what's going on. He knows he called the police.
Yes.
And so now,
And Reed clowns him about that. It's like, why did you call the police? And he was like, I had to. This was, I think,
what
well,
did
it
he
wasn't
say?
what had happened between, I don't remember why Mr. Lee wasn't there.
Remember, his phone was broken. Oh, she was not supposed to be on that
Oh yeah.
date.
And then
For
Mr.
one, he was
Lee
getting his
was,
phone fixed.
no, that's right.
So
Okay.
the detective tells Minhee, I just want to know if you need help right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sue busts in. So now everybody thinks, right? Because he had that situation when they were going to check the backpacks.
Yeah, when he stood up to the dean.
Yeah. So now people are kind of seeing him differently. So he walks in and he tries to do all this talk about, you need a warrant, you have no right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's telling Minnie, you don't have to answer.
Right, right.
Anyways, it's interesting how naive the kids were at the time, but I mean, they're high school students. So it's true because they don't know the laws. They
Mm-hmm.
don't, a lot of times they don't know their rights.
Yes.
They think just because, an authority asks them, they have to tell them and stuff. So that's what Sue's doing. He
Yeah.
rushes in and tries to stop all that.
And I thought it was really good of the show to like really set that up right before this part, right? Because this part
With the
is the
backpack?
serious, yeah, with the backpack. This part is the serious part. Well, the other part would have been just as serious. But
Well,
I think I think you could figure out a way to explain why you're holding on to a few
That much money.
$1,000.
And a sex toy.
Well, a sex
He
toy,
would have got shamed
right?
for that one.
He would have got shamed for that no matter what, right? But this was the big setup because now he's going against the actual policing institution.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just the dean, it is the police that he's going after right now, right? Standing his ground against, if you would.
Yeah. We see there's a cut in the scene with the girls. Remember the
Mhm.
workers, all the girls.
Yeah, that was it's so important because it plays a really important
Later.
role later on, but it's kind of like,
It doesn't
but it
seem
was
like
such a
it's,
small thing that it's like I couldn't put it in my sentences.
it's building up.
Yes.
It's the I don't even know what to call them, the workers that
Sex workers.
that work with Sue.
Mhm.
So they find a new place to work and Minhee is out.
Yeah.
Right. So so the counselor comes in, the teacher comes into the room, and they shoo the detective away, and the counselor tries to talk to Minhee about it, and she
Mhm.
does not want to talk about it. Sue's there, he doesn't want to talk about it, and she calls the counselor an old fart.
Yeah.
And she was so rude, but
Yeah, well, who else you expect to be in this business though?
that's true. Yeah, you're right. You are right.
In the empowerment model that they're working off of, I wouldn't expect anyone else to be in this.
You're right.
In this
I got to
situation.
remember.
Well, it's like, I know
She's a little tougher. She has to be a little
for
thicker
me.
skin.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the empowerment model. And like I said, people can say whatever they want to say, but old style, if you would, pimping or whatever, you were looking for a certain type of girl that basically you could manipulate and abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And then wrap them into this thing and then just get them to perform, right? As necessary, right? That is the pimp model. But and so you would attract a different type of girl. But if you're on the empowerment model, which is these girls chose this profession for themselves, case closed. All they're trying to do is just find a way in this world. And if that's the case,
you're going to have
a different type of girl you're going to have a different type of person that gets attracted to this model.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Ree is telling Sue that they need to let Minhee go. And she's talking about the police at the school. She's like, they're investigating so strongly is because Minhee is a minor. See, the other girls aren't.
That is true.
So I don't know if this whole drama was about underage prostitution.
It's not. Minhee seems to be the only
she's the only one
that's really underage.
Which sometimes I think the problem with certain things when people say, it was so funny because I was watching something else last night.
Mhm.
No, maybe it was this one. Um, when people have the idea that as long as I don't hurt anybody else, I should be allowed to do what I want to do.
Yeah. It's called victimless crime.
For me, the way I see it, the problem with that is that it's never a victimless crime. It never is. Because, for example, you would think these other women, they're over, 18 or 20, they're
Mhm.
21. They're making their own decisions. They're choosing to do this, but it's a risky business because now you have an underage minor.
Mhm.
So it's a little risky. There are certain things that, there's risk involved. And is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it you having your freedom to do something, the risk that it entails, is it worth it? You can
Mhm.
talk about gun control. I mean, a lot of things. Yeah, people should have the right to have, guns and go hunting. My dad was a hunter.
Mhm.
Um, and people can say that, look, there's lots of people that are very safe with their guns, right?
Mhm.
But the risk of allowing people to have guns, is it worth it? Is it really worth it? Let me put it on a smaller scale.
Mhm.
Peanut allergies. So here in our little town, I'm just going to talk about where we live.
Mhm.
There's a lot of peanut allergies to the point where in elementary schools you have tables where it's peanut free.
Hmm.
So if you are eating anything with peanuts in it, you don't sit at that table. Or if you have an allergy, that's where you sit,
Right.
right? Because there's not supposed to be anything that contains peanuts.
Mhm.
So the problem with that, I love peanuts and I love peanut butter, right?
Yes.
But I could be like, look, why, if I eat it myself,
Why
I'm not
even risk
hurting
it?
anybody, I'm not playing with your kids or whatever like that. However, is me eating a peanut butter sandwich at the park when I take my kids, is that so important to me that I'm willing to risk maybe oils getting on my finger and I touch something and a child is going to touch it and just
Mhm.
get the oils
Yeah.
and cause, them to maybe go to the hospital? Like, is my freedom to be able to eat a peanut butter sandwich really that important
Mhm.
to risk somebody's life?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Right.
I kind of see it like that. It's like, look, you don't live alone.
Mhm.
We all live together. And if I eat a peanut butter sandwich, the oils on my hands, I go and touch things. I push my kids on the swing and I could easily get peanut butter on the swings. I can get peanut butter on the table. And then, the next family comes.
Right.
Um, so that's how I think about it for myself.
Yeah.
As much as I love, I mean, like, 'cause I could eat peanuts I do eat peanuts almost every single day and
Mhm.
peanut butter and um at home. But when I go out, I do think about, because when all this first started, I'm like, oh, now I can't have peanut butter sandwich, because
Yeah.
somebody might have an allergy. Like that's kind of how I was thinking about it at first.
Mhm.
But when I started thinking like, somebody could die. Somebody's kid could die when something's so simple. Like we all have to sacrifice for the whole,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Anyways, that's
I mean,
that's
dang, you
I know
you you
I
went on,
know I
you
went
went
off.
off on that one,
But
and
that little thing, the peanut butter thing is small, but it's the idea of how I think about the things
yeah.
that are bigger that people fight for, like
Mhm.
gun control.
Yeah.
Gun control here is a big issue.
Right.
And we have young kids that are shooting, getting a hold of guns and, taking them to school. I don't think,
Or other places.
or other places. And for me, in the way I think, that same thinking about the peanuts is like, look, dad, you're just gonna have to get over not hunting because it's
Mhm.
not worth the risk of
Yeah.
somebody losing their kids. It's just
Yeah.
not worth it. So that's me.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it.
Well, I mean, it's not even about devil's advocate. It's just, and the flip side of that coin is, can you really make a world that's safe, right? And it's like understood peanut allergies, but it's like, how far do we go down that ladder, right, of protecting people from food allergies or other allergies, because and things like that. So I don't want to minimize what you're saying, because what you're saying is absolutely 100% real. But I think this conversation, it takes a whole nother meaning in a COVID era, right? I'm desperately trying to say post-COVID era, and yet at the same time I keep on reading stuff that I don't know if we're quite out of the woods yet on COVID. But it's like we're having a different conversation right now, because there's plenty of folks that are like, what, our immune systems are strong enough. If people die, so be it, because that's just the way things go. And so let's just roll with, let's not disrupt the economy any more than it needs to. Let's not disrupt our lives any more than we need to, because what we're seeing now is massive mental health issues that quite honestly, I don't think anyone is going to disagree that arose partially from the quarantine and masking, and doing the mask and going into isolation and stuff like that. There's no doubt that that's part of the equation of the massive mental health surge that we're seeing.
I hate to break your flow. You're wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Forget it.
We have to take a break right now because our handyman just showed up. Our plumber just showed up, and he's never this early. If anything, he just don't show up. So I'm surprised he's here.
Okay.
Let's take a break and we'll come right back.
Pause.
Hi, we're back. Okay.
Indeed.
So Mr. Lee, he's the bodyguard, kind of.
Yes,
right?
Mr. Lee. Mm-hmm.
So he finally cuts Minhee loose. That's the scene where he takes her, drives out into the parking lot or something.
Yeah.
And he calls Sue.
Mm-hmm.
So Sue can tell her,
Yeah.
And it's so funny, the difference between how Sue talks to her and Ree.
Yeah.
Sue's like being all like, thank you for working with us, like if she was working at Disneyland or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Ree gets on the phone. And basically she's like, yeah, no, you went on a job that you weren't supposed to, you had a panic attack, you're out.
Yeah.
And Sue's like, you're being too harsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the end, she's kind of freaking out.
What?
Right? She
Minhee?
kind of, yeah.
Yes.
She kind of freaks out.
Well, I mean, we've already established that this is her thing, right? It's like she's like, I am nothing without this.
I know.
Which seems a bit much to say for a 16-year-old, but
yeah, her identity is just attached to that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the money and the boyfriend, or is it more than that?
Who knows?
Does she feel a part of something important? Do we know what is it? Yeah. So anyways, I thought it was funny because Sue says, I hope your time with us will remain something positive. I'm like, she was a prostitute. But he literally is talking like,
yeah. I still don't get what you don't understand about that. She did this of her own, like in theory, she did this under her own, she was empowered. Right. She chose this job. So therefore, I don't see why it's not being treated like any other job out there in the universe. Except it's our, right, it's like, it's the era that we grew up in. The era we grew up in is like, you're a dirty little such and such slut, right? It's like we have all kinds of things like that. But in this day and age, it's like sex work is valid work. It's continuing to become more and more validated. We will see a day. We will live to see the day where it becomes, in my best estimation, legalized. Because not having it legal is what I would argue, as a sociologist, is what causes the violence. It is causal. It is not incidental. It is causal. It's you got illegal people. You got this business of people who are doing something that both parties desire in some way, shape, or form, and it is the law that is stopping this from happening. And I'm just saying, right? It's like when deviant people, when people do this, then that means you're attracting deviant people to do this.
Oh, I see.
Right? It's like if it's a deviant act, then deviant people will do it.
Okay.
And that's why you have, quote, the psychos, right, that are out there. But if this was legalized, it would be protected. These girls would be insured in the same. I'm not even kidding. It's like I'm actually thinking of it like they would be insured like professional athletes insure their bodies. They can insure their bodies, and if something happened to their body so that they couldn't do their business, if you would, then you would get insurance, right? It's like there's a lot of professional athletes that have, or college athletes that have their bodies insured. If they get a major accident, then they have $1 million insurance policy. And it's like, for real, these are things that could happen when you are protected. We can have as whatever opinion we want about that as we want, but the world has changed regarding sex. It's coming. I mean, it is what it is, and agree with it or not, the world is changing. Like I said, slut shaming is you're not supposed to slut shame, and sex work is valid.
So we see.
Anyway, we keep on going into that space, but it's real to kind of it's a real thing.
Yeah. So we see Ree with her friends, and they're talking how great Sue is for everything, and she
standing up for himself, so brave.
And but she says no, he's a coward.
I don't quite get where that's coming from yet.
Well, he's just kind of soft-spoken. She wants to do things that he says no. So she probably sees him as being a coward. She's like, look, we got to advance this company, or whatever, advance our business. He's like, no. So maybe that, that's it. She sees him as a coward.
Yeah. Anyway.
We see Minhee with her friends, and this is when the detective calls and she goes off on them. She's like, I'm going to, report you for falsifying, information and stuff. And her kid and her friends think she's so cool. So the whole point of that is she's feeling empowered by the words she's using with the police, with the detective. And then she also, because she kind of got it from Sue. That's the whole reason why she gets him to go with her to try to get her job back.
Yeah.
And so this is where Kite beats up Sue because he thinks that Sue is trying to get his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Minhee.
That him and Minhee got a thing going on, but
he also wants to know.
Minhee's like, please, you're not my type.
Yeah. And Minhee wants to know, or Kite wants to know what he heard. He's like, I know you heard something. What was it? So right. he's beating him up. Minhee shows up, and so she tries to stop the fight.
Yes.
Ree shows up. And so
tries to stop the fight.
Yeah, but what happens is Ree ends up creating this lie to protect all of them. She says, why didn't you tell him, that you stole, she tells Minhee, why don't you tell Kite that you stole something and got caught, and that's why we're all in trouble, So Swarovski is crystals, all that I know. Swarovski crystals.
Oh, okay. So, I had no idea.
I mean, they're like jewelry. I think there's a Swarovski, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, store. So you can buy anything, though. They're like gems, they're like diamonds, but they're not diamonds. They're less expensive, but they're still expensive.
Understood.
So anyways, that was interesting. Because at first you see Ree go in there and she's like, did you tell him? Why didn't you, say something? So anyways, they have that whole lie.
Yeah. And my thing that I'm wondering about is how in the world are they reconciling what's happening in Minhee's head?
Who's reconciling?
Like the writers, us, the audience, because me right now, I'm like, if I'm Minhee, I'm like, why is Ree doing this?
Well,
why
there is
Jisoo, right? It's like there's some suspicion on her end, but it's like she's not really.
Later. She does ask Sue, like, why do you keep defending me? And that's where she thinks that it's because Sue likes her.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right, but I'm like, oh, they're 12. She's totally thinking, oh, he likes me.
12, 16.
Sorry.
Ish.
They're young
teenagers.
So yes. She's taught, look, and so they did bring that in. They did answer your question. She thinks he likes her. That's why he's defending her.
So that's one, I hear you, but that doesn't explain why Ree is fabricated a lie right on the spot to help bail everyone out of this situation.
Well, because Ree doesn't know what's going on. According to Minhee, Ree doesn't know what really is going on. All she knows is her boyfriend's getting beat up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's not good enough for me. Let's see what happens.
okay. So Ree is bandaging up Sue, and she says, "You could pay me back with the business."
True.
I guess she mean money.
Yeah, you know what? This business means something very different to her than it does for
Pay
him.
me back, like giving me more, give me more of whatever, which he does that night. She takes over that night. Okay, so this was interesting. It was kind of confusing, but it all makes sense at the end. When he gets a message, so he's in the counseling office or whatever, and he gets a message on his phone. So you probably got all that, you figured all that out, right? Because at the end it makes sense.
Yeah.
But in the beginning I couldn't figure out what was happening.
Sexy lady wanted compensated dating, and
see, that was,
and the
so
fan said yes.
that was a message that was, I didn't understand that yet. The compensated dating thing, I'm like, compensated dating, what is that, what they're calling it? So anyway, so I got a little confused.
It is absolutely stunning to me, like how you walk through the world. But of course you do the same thing to me, because I miss, it's in movies and stuff like that, I pick up things real fast, but in life I pick up things real slow. And so, and that's where you pick things up fast, and so you just, anyway.
Well, this was like the first time they used that word, maybe, and so I was like, is that what they're calling? What?
No, they use that the whole time.
They have? Okay, so I just didn't click in my brain.
Yeah.
So there was a message going back and forth, and I guess the reason why I got so confused, and it made sense later, is that Sue is the middleman that these messages are going to. So that's what really confused me, because then they had a split screen with the guy, the worker, sex worker guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, who's talking to who?
Yeah.
So you have, so sexy lady, she contacts, I guess she contacts the main, the
blue favor.
She contacts him, but it goes through Sue. Sue gets to see it. Yeah. So Sue sees all that. So that's what kind of confused me too. I'm like, wait, who's talking to who? Yeah. But that's all. He gets to see everything. He sees everything that's happening.
Yeah, later on he uses the word broker.
You're right.
That's in the next episode though, but yeah, I like the word broker. Okay. Basically brokering the deal, right?
He's the middleman, and I think he said that later
it's
too.
Like he manages, so it's like he's closer to a pimp than I had first thought. He's brokering the deal.
Okay.
Right, but
so yes, so that's that whole scene with him on his phone, is that he is brokering the deal. Is what happening. So sexy lady is the owner of the Banana Karaoke.
Yep.
That also serves as a brothel, the words that they used.
Yep.
In the evening.
Yep.
Okay. So let's keep going. Minhee is talking to Sue and asking him how much he heard. And she's telling him, rumors better not start. And that's where she's like, why did you defend me? Is it, oh, you like me? She's like, you're so not my type. And it's funny because she's asking him, and then you see him turn around and he has this thing in his head about how he would say, he was like, I'm your dating broker. That's what he tells her.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you get effed, it's more than likely I'm going to get effed. But he doesn't tell her any of this, right? He just tells her in his head. But what he tells her is everyone has a secret they want to keep. I have the right to live how I want as long as I don't hurt others. No. So that's the whole thing I was talking about earlier. It's like, I don't know, the way I live my life, I feel like, I'm just going to sacrifice that peanut butter sandwich because I don't want somebody to die.
Yeah.
I'll eat it when I get home.
There's other lethal allergies though out there in the universe. So
I'm just talking about peanut butter right now.
just talking about peanut butter right now.
That's how.
But that's how it always starts.
That's what I could do.
And that's what people. And that's what the people. I mean, that's why the phrase in our society is called the slippery slope. It's like at what point do we keep going down? Because if we do, then we're all living in a bubble. We'll never interact with each other.
Well, give me another example, because I would tell you how I see it.
No, I'm not going to give you another example because I want to keep on going here.
Okay. So, this is where Minhee asked. Minhee asked Sue to go with him somewhere that evening, right? And this is such a
being very secretive about it.
Yeah, and I think it's such a cultural thing, I'm guessing, because we would never do that here. It's like, you tell me or I'm not going. But I've seen this in other dramas, or where you don't ask so many questions, you just wait. Like that. I would love to know more about that. It's like, look, if somebody doesn't tell you, then you're not ready to hear.
She's senior to him also,
so she can do that to him. And then the other part is like, why don't you just tell him? Like, why don't you tell? That's how we would do something. You would just tell, because a person usually wouldn't go with you unless you didn't tell them. That's us here, right? Like, I'm not going with you unless you tell me. But in that culture, we've seen it where people don't need to know, right? They wait.
Yeah.
Or they don't ask so many questions. Just wait till we get there. You'll see. Which I like. I kind of like that about the culture.
Well, it depends. Because it's like when it comes to culture, you don't just get one part of it, right? You can't just pick and choose the parts of the culture that you like and just put it all to, and make your own little cultural gumbo, if you would. It's like it's all of the culture that allows you to be able to
for
do
sure.
that,
Oh,
right?
totally.
It's not just hey, older people should be able to tell younger people, hey, you come with me, and then you just no questions asked and you go. And it's like, no. Here there have been many abuses of older people to younger people. Right? So
I totally get that. I guess what my point is, I like that they can do that.
Yes. No, so that there is a different cultural appeal of like a baseline culture of you said they're more homogeneous and they're more trusting of each other and have more of a sense of nation and group than we do.
This is where the whole drama right here, it's about
to pop off.
Okay, Mi Jung. Mi Jung is her name. She is the owner of the Banana Karaoke Bar, right? She's also kind of like the madam.
She is the madam.
So what's funny is she has a boyfriend, right? She has like this live-in boyfriend that she obviously does not really respect, treat right. She's a little disgusted by him, I think. So what we see, no, you don't think she is?
I'm working my way through their relationship.
Okay. So what he's a little bit like, he doesn't have all his marbles. That's how I see him.
Okay.
So he reads the text that she was writing to what, Blue Favor. So he reads it and he's like, oh snap, my girlfriend's having sex with she's having this compensated dating. So he's on this huge mission to find the guy and kill him.
Yep.
Dexter style. So we've talked about Dexter multiple times on different dramas. And if you haven't watched it, do you want to give a little review of who Dexter is?
Dexter is a serial killer who works for the police department and kills only bad people.
He's a blood splatter
specialist.
Yeah. So he
and it is stunning.
It's good. It's good.
The way that they go. I'm still disappointed with the last episode, like how they finished it, but
okay, we're not talking about that part.
They brought it back.
So
I want to see
so when you walk into the room and you see all that plastic everywhere, that's how Dexter kills his victims.
Yeah.
He's very clean. He works with
leaves
blood.
Zero evidence.
Yeah, he works with blood for a living, blood splattered crime scenes. so he knows what happens when there's a murder like that. So he covers the whole walls in plastic. And that's what these two, they're just goofballs. It's funny. I'm dying. These two goofballs put plastic over the whole thing, and they say, like Dexter, whatever, and the guy, he leaves a hole, he wasn't finished. And so what happens is they get the text. So wait. So they get the guy, Blue Favor.
They don't get Blue Favor. They get the fan.
Blue Favor is Sue.
Yes.
Okay, see, this is where it can get confusing to some viewers if they're not completely paying attention. So Blue Favor is Sue's handle.
Yes.
So the guy that she actually is hiring, do we know his?
The fan.
Oh, the fan. So they get him.
The boy band failure.
So what? They were supposed to meet at Love Me Hotel or something, and they end up showing up, right?
Showing up
to the hotel, the two guys, the boyfriend. How do they get the fan? They don't meet him at the hotel to get him and bring him back?
You know what? I don't know. I literally go from like they figure it out and then they have him in the plastic room.
They might have actually did the plastic room at the hotel. It doesn't matter. The point is Blue Favor arrives and they tie him down on the bed.
Not Blue Favor.
Oh, sorry.
The fan.
Oh, I even have it in my notes. See, I'm confused. That's why the fan. And so this is confusing, but he really has not.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sorry. That they must have the boyfriend. He must have arranged this because the fan walked into the plastic room.
Yeah,
he walked into the plastic room.
So they must be at the hotel. Yeah. Okay, it's a little confusing, but the main point is they have them.
Well, they're in the brothel. They're in. Anyway, go ahead.
They're about to kill him.
For sure.
And they realize, he tries to tell them that it's not me. I've never had sex with her before. And he's like, isn't this, or isn't this you? He's like, that's not me. And he picks up his phone and he dials Blue Favor, and the guy's phone doesn't ring. So I don't know, it's not clear if he's ever met with his girlfriend, or he's the boyfriend's like, this is not you because I called and your phone's not ringing.
Yeah.
So they end up letting him go.
Yeah. The fan was the one that most likely had sex with the girlfriend
the first time before, or previously.
And the reason why he was able to hide it though is because Blue Favor is the broker.
I know that's why it goes
through.
They
never had to. There's no information that links the two, so therefore Blue Favor that's why they're the middle person. That's why they're brokering it.
So you know what? It's hilarious. This is why I like these two dummies. They're talking, the two guys, so it's the boyfriend and his friend, and they're like, well, we can't kill him because he didn't do anything wrong. And the guy's like, yeah, like that would be unethical. And I'm dying, like, at least they have some,
They got a baseline.
Yeah,
they have a baseline.
So what ends up happening is he asks him, who do you give your money to once you're done? So at least you're going to hear noise in the background because we're having some work done. What's interesting though, the guy's kind of smart though, the boyfriend, he's like, okay, well, let's figure out who you give your money to.
Right.
And so the other scenes that are cut in is that Sue's on his way to go with Minhee. He was supposed to work tonight. And so he asked Ree to take over tonight. And she's like, if this happens again, I want 60-40.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Let's see. So what happens next is Minhee takes Sue to Popeyes. That is their standby location. Because once they show up, Mr. Lee tries to call Uncle.
Mhm.
Did you wonder if they knew each other at any point when he first sat down, they looked at each other?
Until this moment, until this moment in the thing, I
Yes.
had assumed that
Maybe they knew.
that that Mr. Lee didn't know who Jisoo was.
Didn't know?
Did not.
And now you think he does know?
I think, well,
Okay,
I'm
let me
just
tell
gonna-
you.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna
Let me
leave
tell
it
you
there.
what I think. They don't know each other. The reason why I say that is because Mr. Lee calls him when they're sitting there at Popeyes. Remember? And Sue's hiding his phone because his phone's ringing. So I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, he doesn't know him. And so he
Mm.
never picks up. And then he calls him again and says, leaves a message. We must change our standby location. So then
Mm.
that's what made me believe that they don't know who each other is.
Mhm.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be calling him because he would know that he's standing right in front of him.
Hmm.
So
Good stuff.
what Minhee wants, she says earlier, she wants to get her rights back.
Yeah.
That's one.
Severance pay.
And then two, she asked for severance pay. So the guy shows up.
The fan.
The fan shows up, and you can tell
Distraught.
he's freaking nervous. And then you see Mr. Lee shake his head like, no. I guess he's telling him this is not the right time.
Mhm.
But he has already brought the boyfriend and his thugs to Mr. Lee.
Mhm.
So Mr. Lee is going to take the fall for all of this.
Yeah. It seems that, yeah. Well, I'm dying to get down to the last little bit of this so we can
Okay.
wrap this
So
up.
the last little things is Ree's at home working the business, and she gets all the messages that the girls have left the chat room. That the girls have left.
Yes.
So basically, he has no workers.
Exactly.
At the amusement park, the gangs show up and they basically beat up Mr. Lee, put a axe. Where did it go? I couldn't tell. Is it his head or
no? It's
it went
back.
to his back? Like that's his spinal cord and
Probably
No?
not the spinal cord.
Shoulder?
Probably in the shoulder. But it was. I mean, this dude came full in with an axe, with a hand axe into the back. So it's going to be serious.
okay. The last bit of this episode, Minhee manages to get Mr. Lee, take him through a back door at the carnival,
Mhm.
and the boyfriend realizes that Sue.
I don't like using the word the boyfriend.
Well, what's his name then?
I'm saying I'm using
He's
the
the
word
boyfriend.
the gangster. The reason why is because there's two boyfriends in here, and that's well. I'm sorry, it's just confusing to me.
Okay,
The gangster dude. That's what I'm calling him.
He realizes who Blue Favor is. That it's Sue because of the phone.
Yep.
You wanted to add some stuff to that you said to the end of this episode.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess we can talk about it in the next episode. But when you said that Mr. Lee is taking the fall, that's not the word I would use. Is that Mr. Lee is the intermediate? Like he's the guy. He's the front guy, right? And so, if there is anything that's going to happen with Blue Favor, it's going to be through Mr. Like he's the bodyguard, if you would, right? He is the insurance policy, and so anyway,
I'm just thinking at this moment, this scene, Mr. Lee is taking the fall.
He's getting confronted, and in this moment is when you understand that I was really. There was something really cool in this moment here for me, and that is I didn't realize Mr. Lee was going to be able to handle himself the way that he did.
Well,
And so
remember, he was
now
a
I'm like,
military
well,
guy.
see, military doesn't mean anything to me, right? I mean, so like literally military, like, and I'm like, I've said before, and you've even mentioned it, that it's like Mr. Lee to me is the most intriguing guy in this whole thing. Right, it's like this whole business part of it. It's like whatever the kind of pseudo romance that Jisoo and Ree have. To me, it's like whatever. Mr. Lee is absolutely fascinating to me because of how they have him portrayed. And then in this moment when he's whooping ass, I was just like, whoa, This dude wasn't military. This dude was special forces, which now may explain why he's living the life that he's living, because it's like, and it was introduced with Minhee when she was like, have you ever killed anyone? And he didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what, flat out, this dude was, like I said, this dude was special forces. You're not a military dude and can handle yourself against multiple opponents, multiple lethal opponents like this.
Yeah.
And not be special forces.
For
You're a step or two.
For sure.
Above.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that.
but that
so
was what I
so
wanted to say at this moment.
So is military not considered, or special forces is not considered like
it
military?
is, but it's not. It's just not. It's not that when you say someone's in the military. Look, I'm just saying. I'm a local Oceanside dude through and through. The military dudes around here would get into fights with the high school kids around here, and let's just say it was fair fight.
He has.
Let's just say it was a fair fight.
He has a little more skills.
He has a lot in it, a hell of a lot more skills, which suggests special forces.
That was episode 6. So we're gonna just go right into episode 7. You have 3 sentences for episode 7?
I do have 3 sentences for episode 7. And like I said, compound sentences. So episode 7, gangster dude catches Jisoo and Mr. Lee winds up in the hospital. Sentence number 2, as the police confront Minhee, Jisoo, I'm sorry, Jisoo, that's funny. Jisoo and Ree negotiate with the gangsters. And then my last sentence, even though it's not really the end, but Minhee comes clean to her boyfriend while Ree explains to Jisoo the motivation for their new partnership.
Okay.
That's the best I could do with that, because it kind of became a little mess.
Yeah, that was fine. We see, so the intro scene, we see Ree show up at the hospital to see Minhee with the detective, the woman detective, and Mr. Lee being rolled in.
Yes.
His head
and
wrapped
no
up.
Jisoo.
Correct. But
yeah, go ahead.
What?
I do wonder, like with Ree's character, it's so hard. I'm loving her character, even though I hate her. I'm loving her. Let me restate. I'm loving her acting. And I'm loving how the director is doing this, because I really don't understand or get a sense about Ree's feelings toward Jisoo. Like, I'm really wondering, is she just a business even though she's done a couple of things that would suggest otherwise, but all of the things just kind of fit into, well, I'm just protecting my business interests here.
I found myself wondering the same thing watching this. And so we don't necessarily know yet. I think obviously there is something appealing to her. And is it just him having this business? I think in her way, this is her only way to show that she has some attraction to somebody. I mean, she has some, dysfunction going on.
But so does she.
Who's she?
Ree.
That's what I'm talking about. There is some dysfunction with Ree. This may be her only way to show.
I thought you were talking about Sue. So.
No, Ree. This may be her only way that she knows how to show that she likes somebody. Possibly to be kind of, mean, harsh with them. Does she like him romantically? I don't know. We'll find out. It's interesting because there's some scenes where they're staring at each other and you're wondering, is this where she's gonna reveal?
Yeah, I'm not feeling any of the smolder. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's like there's no smolder between them. There's no, and
that's not there, and that's why you're questioning. What's her,
is
what
just
are her
business?
Feelings?
Yeah. And to me, it's very interesting. I love the way that the writers are doing this. Whether it's, I'm pretty sure it's conscious, not subconscious, where although she hates her mother for being controlling, Ree is exactly that, right? It's like you get,
she totally
it's like she is exactly controlling.
So is she exactly her mother?
Well, you get socialized. This is where the sociologist goes, hey, people are socialized into particular behaviors. And this is why research shows that people who come from abusive families a lot of times create abusive families. And so anyway,
So
it was just
here,
fascinating to me.
here's where we see her mother text her. She just kind of like rolls her eyes.
Mhm.
And so back at the banana karaoke. So now Sue is tied up and they are at the karaoke bar.
Mhm.
We know that for sure because Mi Jung walks in because
Mhm.
she's showing the place because she's going to rent it.
Yep.
And
Cracked me
it's
up.
hilarious, their
That's funny.
relationship, right?
Yeah.
And then it's funny because she's like, who's that kid? I mean, they begin to saw him.
Yeah.
They like have a saw and he's bleeding. And
Mhm.
luckily she walked in and saved him. And he's like,
Well, she didn't really save him.
well,
She just created a moment.
Yes, whatever. If you want to get all technical.
That's
every little
not
thing I
technical.
say.
Saving is saving. This
She
is not
saved
saving.
him from dying by walking in. And what's interesting because she tells the boyfriend, the gangster guy, I don't know who that kid is.
Yeah.
Right. So now he's thinking, oh, we don't have the guy. And so this is how Sue ends up telling everything, his business model,
Right.
to the gangster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so funny because the boyfriend even starts to confide in Sue while he's tied up about having a girlfriend and how he can't please her. She wanted this and she's not happy.
Mm-hmm. And
then right at the end, he's like, it has to be you. Like, are you guys just lying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, how it happens where Sue is like, I need to let him know what's happening.
Or else I'm gonna die.
Yeah. So we'll go back to that scene, but there's a scene here at the hospital where the detective tries to get the truth out of Minhee, and she just flips out. She starts like kind of screaming, and the teacher's there. And I thought that was interesting how the teacher was taking Minhee's side, because they've already discussed that Sue is missing and he could die.
Yeah.
And the teacher's like, leave her alone. Like, just, can't you see what you're doing to her? I don't understand why the detective is not, look, there's another missing kid here and she may know, and he could die. Instead, the detective just doesn't say anything and the teacher takes Minhee home. So that was interesting.
Well, if we think about what the detective knows, that's a stretch. What you just said is a stretch. Well, what we know is that Jisoo is not present.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean anything.
But they talked about it. She talked about it with the detective, didn't she? She's like, where's Sue? And anyways, okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was like, why isn't the detective asking more questions about Sue? And I thought she even said that, something like that. But that's what I was thinking. Okay, so when Sue is giving, so we're going back to the room with the gangster and Sue, and I thought it was so funny how Sue is trying to tell him how to do his job, how he does it. He's like, you have to, download this app so you can hack into this website, and then there's some YouTube videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Yeah. And the gangster guy's like, you need to like dumb this down so we can understand what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. What turned here blew my mind. It blew me away. I don't know. You haven't made any comment. The turn of events here where he uses Ree as the boss. I was thinking.
I thought that was common sense.
I was thinking Ree's gonna go down for this.
Oh no.
Ree's gonna
Are you kidding me? I knew Ree's not that stupid. She was gonna figure this out.
No. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, Ree's gonna go down for this whole operation. he's gonna make it look like Ree is the boss and she started all this. And so at the end of the episode, Ree's the one that's gonna go down. That's what I was thinking. So that's why this was such a big deal to me when
Okay.
he said that that Ree's the boss. Anyways,
Yeah.
you're laughing.
I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
I'm gonna cut this into our last episode if Ree goes down for all this.
Hey, look, she very well may go down for all of this. However, it's already been established. Like literally, my brain just holds on to random things, and so let's just understand. It's already been established that Ree is quick on her feet, right, and that she knows how to maneuver her way through situations at a moment's notice. And so it did not surprise me that they went up that Jisoo went about it that way. It's like he's like, I need to save my life. And right now, she and there's nothing that's connecting her to this on her side of the equation. These guys have no idea, and there's no way to track it. And he knows that. They actually think that he's blue. They actually think he's blue favor. In this moment, he is blue, right? And so I was just like,
I just thought
I was like, I mean, she's the safest, or she's the safest person in this entire equation.
That I don't think so, but
we'll see. I know that she's the safest person in the equation.
Let's see how this turns out. So basically they're like hiring him, and they're like, you can't just hire anybody. Even the convenience stores vet their employees.
Yeah, the psycho dude, the other dude. Yeah, the psycho dude. Yeah.
These guys are hilarious. I'm dying watching them. I actually like them.
I do. I really like these guys. Yeah.
So they need to hear Ree, kind of like, I mean, I don't know what to identify him, that he's a good worker.
Yeah.
God, that is hilarious.
To verify his capabilities. Yeah.
This is where Ree comes in. She doesn't consent to him working there, but this is where she offers a partnership.
Yep.
I don't know if I really like that, but I guess there are a couple steps in front of me, because she knows there's no girls left.
Correct.
So she's like,
there's no girls left.
Yes. So we need to do something. And then she asks how old they are, because I'm guessing that she's already connecting that maybe they left them to go to this new place, which they didn't.
Did she ask how old or how many?
How old? She asked, how old are they?
Okay.
And so I was wondering that she's thinking maybe they're moving over to this other place. Anyways, this is where it was one of your sentences where Minhee confesses to Kite. And she says, do you still like my money? And then he's like, why did you tell me? And she's like, did you know? He didn't respond, but
it was clear that he knew.
Do you think he did? I wasn't sure.
There's no way that a guy, with all due respect, that a guy responds that way without knowing.
Unless he just didn't care.
Love is no.
So then
let me speak as a guy in that space. There's no way that you respond that way without knowing.
I think he doesn't like her as much as he likes the money and and then he says, after she gets up to walk away, he says, I'll tell everybody.
Well, he doesn't want her to break up.
Is that what it was?
That's the way I read it. He was like, why are you breaking up with me? Like,
I'll go tell everybody.
I already know. So we're good, right?
That could be.
Well, she's still, kind of going through the shame of it. But again, remember, she is underage. And so we're not arguing. Let me be specific. I am not arguing for underage prostitution. I would never make that argument. What I would say is, if we don't have a society that shames sex work and makes it legal, there's going to be a lot of boyfriends and girlfriends out, people out there that are going to that could have partners that have sex work. You said that in the last episode.
Yeah, I've read articles. Yeah, where there is.
This is a real thing.
Where it's like out there doing this. At home, Sue asks Ree, tells her, even my life is a game to you. So we've seen that throughout, the struggle that Sue has to survive, and Ree who's just having fun
You know,
or enjoying the
I'm
process.
starting to read a bit different now. Like once she had that dramatic turn, right? Remember her moment, the moment where she turned for me as a character was when she was crying to the dean and the counselor, when she just fell apart in that moment and talking about how lonely she was, that even though she was one of the best students
I
and
still didn't believe
wealthy,
that. I did not believe
um,
that.
no, I believe that at that moment, that although it started as manipulation, that she tapped into something very
Maybe,
real in that
maybe.
moment that I identified with and could actually go, okay, this is a different type of proving ground for you. This is not necessarily a game. You're not using the you're not like Squid Game, where these wealthy people are watching these, less for or these people who made bad decisions in their life just scrap, battle and scrap and sacrifice their lives and stuff like that. You're not those kind of folks. You're different. And so I'm engaged in trying to figure out like how they're going to write in that part, especially at the end. I'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
But there's a moment where that's, like I said, it really turned for me. Like this means something very different for her. It's not a game per se.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Sue calls Minhee to see if she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sue shows up at the hospital and Minhee is by Mr. Lee's side.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of see them, there's a little bond happening between them two.
Yeah, of course.
That's happening. Because at this moment, Minhee doesn't know who Sue is.
For sure.
And she doesn't know that Sue even knows Mr. Lee.
Correct.
So for him to show up, because she says something to him like,
you're that bored or you don't got nothing to do and you showing up here. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so
she's assuming that he's there for her, not
exactly. Exactly.
And which we left out in the last episode, that Jisoo, the reason why Jisoo got caught is because he protected Mr. Lee.
Oh, you mean how the gangster guys caught him?
Yeah, the gangster guy caught Sue because he protected Mr. Lee.
Yeah,
he
let
created
them get away.
the moment for Mr. Lee to get away. And I think in his head that he was calculating that, because remember, Sue is a genius, right? It's like he's calculating stuff too. Mm-hmm. And I think he was calculating two things. One, that Mr. Lee may crack. Two, that they would have no problems killing Mr. Lee, but maybe they would have a harder time killing Sue, right? Like that wouldn't necessarily be, and that Sue has stuff to negotiate with. Mr. Lee did not. Mm-hmm. And so, as far as like who's going to come out alive in all of this, I think Jisoo actually calculated very well, and I appreciate the writers for this, that he was a better person to have to deal with the gangsters than Mr. Lee.
For sure. So the next day, this whole next end of the scene, Mr. Lee asked Minhee for his phone. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is Minhee figures out that the police has his phone. She texts Sue to give him a heads up. Mm-hmm. Right when I keep all these names. Right when Sue calls Mr. Lee. Mm-hmm. And the detective has the woman detective.
The detectives have the phone. Illegally.
You're right. Illegally. She has the phone illegally. Yeah. Because you see that the screen split back and forth, how they go back and forth, mm-hmm. where they're talking about, Sue's talking to Ree about, they can't do anything with it. There's, they don't have a warrant. And then you see the two detectives are like, we'll never get a warrant for this. Mm-hmm. And that was cute. That was a good scene. I like that. What's the detective? They're trying to figure out why Minhee is with Mr. Lee, because there's such an older mm-hmm. difference. And she said, it's not like she's or Leon, and they made a reference to a movie, Leon and Matilda. Do you remember that movie? I know you probably remember. Okay, so it is with, it came out in 1994 with Natalie Portman. That was her like debut, where she was a 12-year-old girl and this hitman
Yes, I remember now.
takes care of her. So that's the reference that she gave.
Okay.
You know, is that what's happening here? Is Mr. Lee like a hitman? And she's just kind of, you know, his protege, she's his protege or something. So this is the scene where I think this is the end of the scene where Sue tells Ree, you're always at a safe distance from trouble. He's like, even Minhee knows how serious this is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this part that shows Sue. I felt like he was kind of coming out of his shell a little more. I don't know.
He's having his 8 moments. Remember, like I was saying, like when 5s go into that positive direction, they get confrontational. It's like he's been in his shell, right? It's like he's been safe in his shell, very introverted, and everything. But when he's fighting for his life, all of a sudden you see characteristics about, which is funny. Remember, because I'm an 8, and you're, you know, even though you're always attracted to 8s, and you don't even know that. Like, you literally don't know that. You don't see a movie and go, oh, 8, right? And the Enneagram stuff, by the way, is what I'm talking about. But when a 5 has 8 moments, this is when you like them the most. And so you're like, oh, I like this part about he's stepping. It's like, yeah, this is you.
The last scene, in this last scene, Ree tells Sue that she's gonna handle the psychos, which she's referring to the gangster, the boyfriend.
Yes. And this is where, when she says that, this is where I was like, oh, that's where I was talking about, like, oh, this actually means something very different to her than a game. This is not Squid Game, right? This is not some wealthy person that's bored
because
or everything. This is something different. This means this is personal to her, even though she can, and it's not the business part of it. It's the proving part of it. Like, I have to demonstrate who I am as a unique individual in this world. And so therefore, that's what's being drawn out of her right now. And she don't want to be called no punk. Like for real. Like, she's being called out right now. She's like, I ain't no punk. I'll go deal with them. And which would be very interesting, you know, if because Jisoo is the mastermind in all of this stuff. And but you know what, Jisoo, and this is where I wanted to really just kind of lay into Ree right now and just say, like, for real, Ree is a capitalist minded person, right? And remember, they threw the capitalist critique in like full blast on us in the very beginning and never really mentioned it again, right? But I thought it was actually Jisoo that was supposed to represent, supposed to embody the capitalist model. It's not him, it's her. Ree is the embodiment of the capitalist model because she's the one that keeps on trying to expand, explore, like to make it bigger, stronger, like, which is the capitalist model, right? Right, take over the world, if you would, and y'all can be as mad about that as you want, but that is what capitalism moves us toward, get more and more control, get bigger. The thing is, though, is that all the steps that she made to get bigger is what put the whole business in jeopardy in the first place. I'm not, remember, right? It's like all we're doing is talking about compensated dating, not the underage part. If we just kind of put that off to the side, I get the drama, I get what's happening. Cool, right? If we're just talking about compensated dating, Jisoo was content. He was making a living. People were making a living off of his business. He didn't need to get any bigger. He's like, why are you trying? The first thing, though, that Ree does to come in is she tries to expand the model, and she expands it to to men, right? That's her thing. The thing is, well, now see, and I'm going to say this, and people can be as mad about it as you want. If we're talking about compensated dating, and let's say you're a woman and you find out your boyfriend or your husband was doing this, well, you're just a mad woman. That's it, right? And in a space where it's seriously gun control. Okay, when you involve men, most likely what you're going to get on the other side is a jealous boyfriend or husband. Therefore, it is exponentially more dangerous to involve men in this business. So in business models, though, right, it's like, well, high risk, high reward. Personally, I still don't see the reward, like the big reward that comes in on this. As a matter of fact, introducing the male compensated dating, like I said, actually facilitated the physical confrontation that would probably never have happened if you just kept it on the female, if you just kept it on the female side of the equation. So Jisoo, I think, has really does have a legitimate beef of saying, because you expanded this model and got men involved in the compensated dating side, we're dealing with this crap right now, and it's your fault. And I think that's a legitimate observation on his part. Just saying, regardless, right? And so, and like I said, to think about it, like I said, I added in a seriously gun-controlled space because, you know, women are just as capable of violence as men are. That's absolutely 100% for sure. However, in a gun-controlled space, a woman can do very little damage. I should say significantly less damage than a motivated, jealous boyfriend or husband. Just saying that, and people can be as mad about that as they want. I will stand by that. But anyway,
I'm a little confused because all the women that were working were girls. I mean, they could have jealous boyfriends and husbands that got involved. Minhee's boyfriend could have been a different guy who got, once he found out.
I think it's so much easier. I think, well, I know for a fact that they would direct that if Kite would not have known about the compensated dating, he would have just directed all of his anger at the girl.
So what's the difference between the gangster and?
Because he went after the model. He went after the person also. You know what? You're right. I feel you. I just think that I hate quite saying it like this. There's what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot more women who could be involved in this business.
The Kite is just the person that the writers chose to use, but he could have been a jealous boyfriend that went out and killed too.
They could have killed off the girlfriend. I hear you. I still think that Jisoo is like looking at this like, you made the business model harsher, like you made it to where it was more likely that something like this would happen.
She just wanted it too fast, too quick, maybe.
Expanded the business. She was getting like capitalism. The baseline of it is greed.
Well, you know what?
And it's like you got greedy and you expanded it to a point to where.
No, you could also blame some of this on Minhee, and that she was underage and she couldn't handle what was happening.
Yeah, for sure.
You can kind of blame it on her and not necessarily Ree that started all this.
No, I'm not going with that.
She's the one that the detectives are searching because they saw her.
All of that was coincidental.
She had a breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling her out. I don't know if it's all Ree's fault necessarily.
You know, yeah, because Minhee did go on the date, the compensated date without permit or without protection.
And because again, she's young, she's not seasoned. She's, as the older girls.
Yeah.
So
true.
That's episode 7.
But I think, like I said, I think in Jisoo's mind, Ree has way more responsibility in all of this. And what's happening now at this moment, this police part, yes, but the gangster part, I think he's definitely tying that into Ree.
I don't know. I don't. He might be, but I'm not necessarily sure. She complicated it a little bit. She complicated it for Sue because he had, his business. It's one person thing. He had control of it all. So she definitely complicated it for him.
Yeah. I'm saying
But-
expanding it to men and then having to deal with jealous boyfriends.
Yeah, but jealous boyfriends could have happened the other way too.
I don't agree.
How? How do you not agree? I mean, a jealous boyfriend couldn't find out what his girlfriend is doing.
I don't know if the girls are as. I just think that it doesn't make as much sense for the girls to have boyfriends and hide it.
But she did. I mean, he did have a boyfriend. She did hide it.
I don't think
he
that's,
didn't care.
I don't think that that's normal.
Well,
I think if you make the decision to do compensated dating, I don't think you.
no, I think there could be some women that would hide it because the money's good. Anyways, all I'm saying is I'm not sure I want to put all the blame on Ree.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
She did complicate it, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to put all the blame on her quite yet.
Yeah, that is, and it's to me
Right.
again, it continues to be hilarious to me in the Enneagram, where you protect the 3 moves because the things that 3s do, you protect those things, and you're like, and I'm like, oh, but it seems pretty clear to me. But you're right. I'm okay.
Okay, this was the extracurricular episode 6 and 7.
Yeah,
We're almost done.
only 3 more episodes to go.
Yeah, this is a short one. I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
We'll see you later. Bye.